Guys, after years of praying, hoping, dreaming, Ridley Scott still had the juice, just enough juice left in his body to deliver for Gladiator 2. At long last, it has screened. We have reactions, and it seems like he's done it. Just jump right into them. I am excited. Some of us believed in this film from the very start and didn't believe in Joker 2. That's the only bragging I'm going to do. Gladiator 2 is Ridley Scott's best film since The Martian, a big, bloody, badass action spectacle that builds upon the legacy of the original. The film showcases beautiful set pieces and a lot of epic battles. Paul Mescal shines. Denzel Washington chews up the scenery quite. Well, that's enough. You'll see a lot of Denzel mentions in here. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll just read a few. Gladiator 2 is a true epic and Ridley Scott's best in years. Paul Mescal is a great action star without sacrificing his indie grit, a worthy heir to the throne. Denzel Washington eats every line and costume without overplaying. Ridley Scott returns to the Coliseum to prove to the world that he's still got it. Yes. Absolutely buzzing after Gladiator 2, an epic Shakespearean tale of hope, futility, and power in a crumbling system. Denzel feasts in a show-stopping Machiavellian performance. What a picture. Gladiator 2 doesn't quite rise to the greatness of the original, but it's a damn fine sequel with big stakes, a solid story, and excellent performances. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Most probably will too, but it's just slightly lacking emotionally. Everything is easy and on the surface, but everyone's enjoying it. Like, this is also like a mixed one. Gladiator 2 lacks the focus and emotional punch of the original, and Mescal isn't quite as captivating as the lead here as Crow was in the original, but it's overflowing with memorable action, and it's got Denzel stealing the movie and soon to be one of his most iconic performances. I think the main takeaway here is it might not be quite as good as the original. I mean, that's a high bar. Obviously, that won Best Picture with a standout performance. It seems like most of the mentions are going to Paul Mescal and Denzel Washington here. And we can transition that over, I guess, into, that's what this channel is about, the Oscars. We can transition that over into, after these reactions, what's it going to get? What's it looking like? So yeah, it's a top-tier blockbuster, one of the best of the year. It'll make a ton of money. It's one of Ridley Scott's best films of this past century, it seems so far. So Best Picture, I've had it in there forever. If you don't have it in there, put it in there. Supporting actor is interesting. You'll see that the things that I've asterisked here are the categories I think it could potentially win. Everyone is mentioning, everyone, and people who I've talked to, I've also seen the film at this first public screening, are mentioning Denzel Washington in supporting actor. Lots of people saying it's one of his most iconic, best performances yet. He steals the entire film. You can tell just from the trailer, honestly. I think that's an up in the air category, honestly. You've got Culkin, you've got Pierce, you've got Macklin. All of those, none of those are like a clear frontrunner there. Like Real Pain, we don't know how that's quite going to develop yet. I think he can definitely be nominated, but if it's in picture, then he could probably potentially win. But I don't know, that hasn't released yet. I think we still need to wait and see for that film to develop a little more. The Brutalist, it seems like that's going to be a big contender. That'll get a ton of nominations, including a ton of acting nominations. I think the acting push, if there's just going to be just one, it will be Brody, though. I think Pierce would be second to him. I'm not competing, but if they're going to give one win to The Brutalist acting-wise, it would be Brody. And then Macklin, once again, kind of like a Real Pain. We need to see how A24 handles the rollout for that film for the rest of the year, because they fumbled it during the summer, but I think they might do a better job during the winter season, getting it screened for voters. But he's got a great narrative. He's out of any of the potential winners, I think he's got the best narrative to win. So I'd say he's maybe the fiercest competition for Washington. But I mean, giving Denzel Washington a third Oscar in what is many people saying is like one of his best performances in this huge spectacle film, it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. I might have him winning right now. I don't know. Like I said, that category is up in the air. So I'm not going to commit to it right now, but I don't know. I'd say keep an eye out for him. I can easily see Critics' Choice, SAG. I mean, he'll hopefully for the first time. Denzel Washington has 2 Oscars. The BAFTAs have still never nominated him. Proof why. They have done some changes with their voting systems to try and fix stuff like that, but they just got rid of all of those changes this year. So they're back to the system where they have not nominated Denzel before, but this would be a fun first nomination. I think it's definitely possible. I don't think he would win over there no matter what, just because they're the BAFTAs, but I can see Critics' Choice. I can see Golden Globes. I can see SAG. That's enough. We just have to see. It's too early to call a winner, obviously, for any of these categories. But I'd say it's definitely possible. Production design and costume design, hand in hand. People raved about both of them. In particular, production design. I've had it winning both production and costume design for a little bit now. Production design, I mean, they talked about it in the post-screening Q&A clip that I saw. Denzel talked about it. They pretty much like built Rome. They built huge costumes. I just feel like looking at the competition, Dune's already won in that category, and anyways, that's sand. Wicked has good production design, but like honestly, the film makes it look worse than like I've seen like photos of it behind the scenes, and then you see it in the film, and it's like, how do you make it look uglier than just like what it naturally looked like? So I don't think that, and that's not going to be a huge overall picture contender like Gladiator. So I'd feel pretty good about that winning production design and costume design. That's I think where Wicked could maybe compete against it more so. But I don't know. I feel better about costume design for Gladiator than I do for Wicked. But that's a battle for sure. And then it'll easily get the visual effects nomination. Napoleon did last year. I don't think it'll win that. Dune will get that. And then sound, it'll easily get that too because it's a blockbuster. So tier one, those are all very likely. I definitely have that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nominations. I feel pretty confident about. Tier two, pretty much everyone who raved about Washington also raved about Paul Mescal, saying he's great in the film. It's a gladiator role. I'm sure he's going to be screaming. He's going to be crying, yelling. It's a physical role. It's definitely possible. There's 4 pretty clear spots in actor, and there's that 5th spot where you could go Mescal, you could go Sebastian Stan for Apprentice, you could go Nicholas Hoult. I think that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty much those 3. So it's definitely possible. Director is interesting. Early in the year, I thought, well, if he's nominated, he could maybe win. I mean, the narrative there for Ridley Scott, one of the best directors of all time, doesn't have an Oscar, somehow didn't win Best Director for the first Gladiator film when it won everything else pretty much. That narrative, I feel like if he's nominated, looking at the competition, it's like that category is so up in the air. It's like you have a bunch of newcomers like Corbett, or like first-time nominees like Corbett. I think it's pronounced Corbett, not Corbet. Corbett, Baker. I don't know if he's going to be nominated. I'm still iffy on that, honestly. If it's a huge box office hit, which I think it'll do well. But if it's like huge, maybe even then, cinematography, maybe. It doesn't look amazing from the trailers, but it is a tech contender. And looking at the other, there's an open, like, there's room in that category because what you've got Brutalist, you've got Nickel Boys, Dune, Mia Perez, and then I've got Maria. But that 5th spot, those 4 and 5 spots are, so maybe. Same goes for editing, I believe. Yeah, Dune, Brutalist, Mia Perez, maybe Honora, and that 5th spot's like really up in the air. And score, I didn't see tons of mentions for the score, so I don't think so. And then tier 3, it's Reach, but maybe. Adapted screenplay, I just don't think it's going to happen. The main negative thing people seem to be mentioning is there isn't as much like of a story, emotional gut punch to it, and it's kind of like just the story isn't as strong as the first one. So, and I feel like there's like a pretty solid 5 in that category where it's like you don't need to make room for that. So I don't think so. And then any other actors, I feel like it's just Mescal and Washington. I don't see Connie Nielsen. No one really seemed to mention her if she had like a big moment, maybe because that category is open, but it seems like she doesn't. And then supporting actor, I mean, it's Washington. There's not going to be room for Pascal or Quinn or any other actors who got mentioned. So Quinn seemed to get them 3rd most mentions after Washington and Mescal. So, but there won't be enough room for a double supporting actor on there. I'd probably have it getting like 8 or so. I don't think it's quite double digits, but that's still super strong. That's my little update. Those are my quick thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and see you in the next video.